bit of some time today. A little bit of a late start. So hope this light doesn't play games with me. Near 2 minutes. So what I will do is get started in about 60 seconds. Hopefully I am heard. Oh, okay. Well, for those who are catching the replay, I want to know how your Easter went. I want to know what songs you sung. I want to know what you did if you were in the music ministry. Did you sing? Did you play? Did you act? Did you do all of the above? Were you a dancer? Did you have an Easter speech, an Easter poem? All the things. I recognize that today is a little bit of a dismal day with the passing of Pope Francis. We are definitely praying for everyone in that community that was affected by his passing. We want to keep those hearts encouraged, keep that community uplifted. We definitely want to do that. All right, well, let's go for it. I don't know how long I'm going to be tonight. I try not to go over an hour, but today may be a little bit shorter. We'll just see how things go, right? Today, what I want to talk about is what it is to be an accompanist. On one of my more recent lives in the art of worship, I made it a point to mention that, you know, we're accompanists. Sorry, I'm putting the highlight in the comments here, so get some people in here. We're accompanists, right? Whether or not we are accompanying a singer, accompanying a preacher, accompanying the moment, accompanying the spirit, accompanying an intercessor, right? We are accompanists. And it's my view that applies to singers as well. Singing the right song, the right way, right? So let's deal with that tonight. Jesus, this lighting would work with me here. Let's deal with that tonight, right? What does that mean? Okay. Now, a lot of you know me, are familiar with what I do. Hi, Mother. Familiar with my background, familiar with my experience, right? I'm a big jazz guy. I do a lot of gospel. I've been doing gospel church stuff longer than I've been doing jazz, but I'm a jazz guy, right? And I'm a piano player. I play other things, but my main instrument has become that of piano, right? So when we are in the jazz world, right, we're in the rhythm section, and myself as a pianist, and you got your other harmonic instruments, right? You got piano, you got vibes sometimes, you got organ, if you choose to go that route, And then you also have guitar, right? We are the harmonic trio, if you will, the harmonic instruments in a jazz situation, right? And what we do is kind of a colloquial, kind of slang term called comping, especially during the solo section. We're comping. What does that mean? It's a shorter term for accompaniment, right? What are we doing in that time? Well, we are playing both chords and rhythms in a way that help to accent, to uplift, to reinforce the soloist. The soloist being kind of like the main event, the main attraction, the star at that moment. Sometimes we comp for ourselves. If it's our solo, we will, me as a piano player, my right hand will be soloing, playing melodies, and my left hand will be doing the accompaniment, right? But it's to accent and support the main thing that's happening, right, at that moment. So as we apply that same concept to, hey, Ms. Benson, as we are applying the same concept to church, right, we are accompanying whatever is going on, the entire band, not just the keys player, not just the guitarist or whatever, the entire band, right? And again, what does that mean? You are reinforcing and supporting and playing things in a way that highlight, support, undergird, reinforce the main event, right? So what goes into making a good accompanist? I'll leave the floor open right now for some guesses. Like, what if I'm going to be a good accompanist? What are some things that I need to consider in order to be successful at doing my job well? So there's a lot happening today. Okay, so I'll give some answers, right? I think first, dynamics. Super important. What is dynamics? Dynamics is how loud or soft that you're playing, right? You're too loud, it's a problem. Too quiet, it's a problem. It's a little weird, right? Dynamics, super important. I think activity is important. What do I mean by activity? How much movement, how much stuff is happening, right? There are moments where we could put a lot of stuff. It could be a lot of movement, a lot of activity, a lot of chords, a lot of runs, a lot of fills, a lot of whatever. And there's moments where it can be a little more sparse, right? Much more padding, soft cymbal swells, sustained notes, what we would call footballs, right? Rather than a lot of rhythmic activity. Okay, I think that's important. What else? I think patchwork is important. What do I mean by patchwork? What sounds is your instrument producing, right? If you're a drummer, what drums are we hitting? What cymbals are we using, right? We don't need chinas for everything. We don't need splashes for everything. We don't need hi-hats for everything. Honestly, sometimes if you ask me, the hi-hat is the wrong texture. I know we can make it work. All of my kick snare hat guys to make the gig happen, I'm right there with you. Sometimes a ride is a better fit. It just is. We don't need to eight-ball everything. We don't need to do it. We don't need to do it. Bassist, maybe not slap everything. We don't need to slap everything. We don't need the bridge pickup on everything. Our EQ, right? We don't need an overwhelming amount of low end. Yes, we play the bass, but don't crank up the low end so much that it's a muddy tone. Don't do that. guitarists, we don't need distortion and overdrive on everything. We don't need a ton of delay on everything, right? Keys, players, we don't need synths on everything at all times. We don't need, Rhodes or MKS20 on everything. We just don't. I know it sounds great. We don't need it all the time. Sometimes we do need it. It's a great sound and patch. Sometimes it sounds nice layered with the piano. We don't need it all the time. Organists, we don't need full out. We don't need fast Leslie rotation all the time. We don't, right? That kind of stuff, that kind of texture patchwork is very important. Okay, we're considering what it is to be a good accompanist. Intensity, very important. Intensity and volume is not the same thing. I'll say it again. Intensity and volume are not the same thing. You can be playing loudly and have no intent behind what you're playing. Likewise, you can be playing soft and it can still be very intentional, right? Intent is, all those things are important. Okay? The last thing I'll mention is focus. Focus. I don't care if you know that song front and back, up and down, in and out. I think a good accompanist is focused at all times. You never know, especially in the context of a church service, you never know what could happen that may inspire or present the need for something different. You may need to play in a certain register. The singer may play some, Tony, my dude, what's up, man? The singer may sing something in a way that allows you or informs you that you may need to play the harmony in a different kind of way. The singer may play, land on a different note that says, oh, I need to use this harmony instead of the one that was on the record, right? There may be some space presented where an arpeggio sounds great. It would fit perfectly. There might be a moment where I don't need a 10-finger chord. There may be a moment where I don't need a chord at all. You don't know that unless you're focused. Okay? Singers, let me holler at you for a second. Right? I've talked a lot about these musicians. Let's holler at you for a second. How are you an accompanist? I think all the same things apply to you. Charles, what's going on, my dude? I think all the same things apply to you. Volume, intensity, focus, dynamics. Not necessarily patchwork, but like timbre. Maybe let's not squall everything. We don't need to hang out in the rafters all day. Right? And focus applies as well. There are moments to where, I may need to sing the song, but maybe I don't need to start it out the way that I thought I needed to because of what's happening in the room. Or maybe I don't need to sing the whole thing, right? Maybe I just need to really focus on this part. I know what we rehearsed, but maybe I need to really just minister this part because that's what the Spirit needs right now. You're accompanying the Spirit. That's always the highlight, no matter who has the microphone. If you're accompanying an intercessor, maybe I don't need a song, maybe I just need to, highlight what they're praying about. Some of these prophetic chants and songs of the Lord get birthed out of prayer moments. Well, you're accompanying, if you ask me. You're accompanying that intercessor, driving a certain point home. So the thing that's kind of still becoming increasingly popular. I don't know if it's increasingly popular or just kind of common, recognized, but like these preachers who get to exhort, and then you hear like a praise and worship leader or usually the worship pastor or something behind them kind of hooping behind them, kind of reinforcing it. Like you hear some of that stuff with Brandon Clark and Jaleel Poole, and you hear like T.D. Jakes and Miranda Curtis did a lot of that. Kanye West. If I'm not mistaken, Justin Savage kind of will do it here and there. Who else does that? You don't really hear too much of like Brandon Jacobs because he'll sing his face off by himself. No slight to anybody else, but those are some of the people like that you would hear do that kind of thing. And that's the accompaniment thing as well, right? You're reinforcing that moment. And it's highly essential to do that well, right? I think of these encounters, if you will, these moments, as a very present, very tangible, yet very delicate, like, thing. We like to use glory cloud a lot, bubble, I don't know. I kind of see it as like this. I do see it as a bubble. I do. And it's like, it's this element that you want a part of, but you don't want to mishandle it because you don't want to pop it. You don't want to break it. You don't want to shatter it, right? I want to handle it in a way that keeps it alive. It's like when you blow a soap bubble or you blow a bubble period, and you can like bounce around or hold it on the little stick, right? But if you don't catch it, you'll drop it and it'll pop. Or if you reach up to it too hard, it'll pop, right? If you're blowing a bubble, you're blowing this big bubble, and you put too much air through, you're gonna pop it. Likewise, if you don't put enough air on it, it's gonna wisp it. It's gonna kind of fizzle out, right? And I think it's important to think about this kind of thing as it pertains to how we increase our efficacy as those who serve in the creative arts in these churches, because of how important our role is, like how much of an effect what we do has on the atmosphere, on the environment, on the encounter, on the experience, right? Like, if I'm in an accompaniment space, especially if I'm accompanying the spirit, right? It's a moment where I feel like you guys know what I'm talking about. Like, no one person is kind of dictating what happens, and there's such a synergy there, and the spirit gets to a place where like no one person is kind of dictating. Of course, we're subject to what the pastor wants, and we keep an eye on leadership, but like, a singer may break out with something. It could even be a background singer. It could break out with something. We latch on to that. The piano starts playing a certain melody, and we latch on to that and flow that way. And then, we end up in this place together, and the whole church is in on it. Or, anybody experience something with like a prophetic painter? Where they see something, they see an image in the spirit, and they paint it out, and that's what the Lord is saying, right? So the musicians may play something that inspires a certain drawing that it's this kind of ebb and flow situation where everybody's just accompanying the spirit, kind of undergirding what's happening, supporting, reinforcing, highlighting what's going on, right? Well, I can't be effective in that way by being scripted all the time. By being so formulaic all the time, right? And I know that's a place of tension, that's a place of friction, because there's so much scripture around preparation. There's so much scripture around order. There's so much principle, doctrine, if you will, around, having a plan. We are in such a day and age where people are crying, begging for rehearsal. Please come to rehearsal. Don't only come to rehearsal, but rehearse at home before the rehearsal. Come to rehearsal prepared. Let's have a prepared rehearsal so we can be prepared for Sunday. We are in such an age where people are really crying out. Ooh, this lighting. Are y'all praying? Where people are crying out, please practice. Know your craft. Yes. And I agree. We all know, like those who know me know. Let's have a rehearsal. Let's work this out. Let's at least have an idea. Yes, the Lord is sovereign. Yes, He's in control. Let's have an idea though. Like let's consider the fact that He's given us facility to make some things happen. Right? Like let's not leave it all to Him. Let's realize that, we're collaborating with the Spirit. We're not going to show up with our hands in our pockets waiting for the Lord to just drop what we need in our laps. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that at all. However, I think in being prepared, it's so important to leave room for the Spirit to make some changes. I think in being prepared, it's like, what are we preparing for? Where we're not preparing for what we want. I feel like I need to say that again. In being prepared and in preparation, we're not preparing for what we want. Like God, I feel like God should be in on every part of the process. God should be involved in you deciding what songs to sing. God should be involved in the order of service. Yes, it might be the same order of service, but as you're considering, what you want your church to look like, I believe that God should be involved on like, okay, God, how you want this church service to go? You put a program on there. What do you see happening? Absolutely. Being prepared is absolutely first. And after we get that, situated and worked out, still leave some room for God to make some changes. We know in part and we prophesy in part. We don't know who's going to walk in that door. We don't know what may go right, what may go wrong. We don't know what may be needed in a certain moment. Sometimes everything goes according to plan and sometimes it doesn't. We got to be ready. You don't know what may happen to you one day to the next, one moment to the next. I've had many situations, many days where I was in one mood, in one space, and then something happened, and I was in a completely different state of mind. And we've talked in previous lives about how the state of your soul, well, I'll say it like this, how music affects the soul, and vice versa. Soul can definitely affect the music. And yeah, it's one thing to play yourself to a place and play yourself out of a place and, do something to get you to not even play, but just to pray, right? And get your mind back in a certain place so that you can execute what you need to execute. And whatever your process is, there's a certain way where like, okay, if I am playing a song and I'm in a really good mood, I may play it one way, but if I'm in a place where it's causing me to be a lot more focused, or if I am a little disgruntled, a little frustrated, right? The approach may be different, and it may change throughout the context of the service, the context of even the song, depending on what's happening in me, right? But I need to be focused on the moment still to do my best to play the right thing at the right time. At that moment, it may not go. I may not sound the way I sounded in rehearsal, in sound check, in the early morning run through. I just did a situation, I guess it's 2 weeks ago now, where I had loops prepared, and intros, and all this kind of stuff. And one of the artists was talking and introducing, and then just went right into a part of the song, went right to the chorus. That's not what was prepared. Still had to make it happen. Ashley was having to do it. It definitely changed the approach. And the way she took her time with that song, definitely adjusted how we need to play and how I needed to, support her and accompany that moment, not just her, but that moment. What that did for those who were under the sound of her voice, I may not know it all, but I know how awkward it would have been had I tried to push forward with